Mother. Mother is the new film written and directed by Darren Aronofsky. This week we got our good friend Aaron McGrane from Allied Productions sitting in on the review for Nate. If you're in the West Michigan area, need any kind of photography, videography done, go to Allied Productions. They're top notch. So Aaron, thanks for joining me. Now, Mother, Darren Aronofsky. We talked about Darren Aronofsky before, and we like some of his work, and we also have mixed feelings about some other pieces of his work, but we can't deny that the man has a certain signature visual style. And what do you think about just the visual style he brought to this new movie, Mother?
Yeah, and I think it was exciting. I mean, it wasn't anything that I would say was out of character for him. Pretty dark, some sort of supernatural, exciting type of visuals that are happening. A lot where he plays with time as well, which is something that if you paid attention to anything with Aronofsky, you're always going to sort of be lost as to your place and sort of be lost as to your time until you sort of thought about watching this film a couple of times.
Yeah, I think this is kind of weird. I mean, we just got out of the theater, and I think this is a movie that I really think needs to marinate before I can give like a full-fledged opinion. So this is going to be more first reactions. And me personally, with Darren Aronofsky, I like his style. I like the way that his movies look. They're very technically sound. It's just that the storytelling aspect of his movies kind of leaves a little bit to be desired. And I feel like with his filmography before, for every movie of his I can name that I love, there's one of his that I can name that I just can't really sit through. And I feel like this movie is a representation of that. There are parts of this movie where I'm intrigued and I'm enthralled and I want to know what's going on. And then there's parts of this movie where it's like, oh, I have half a mind to walk out right now.
Well, there was a point where I knocked you on the shoulder because there's not to give too much away here, but
someone's falling asleep on screen.
You literally watch someone fall asleep at a certain point, and I think maybe for some viewers that may be the experience that you will have while watching this. Again, it's so hard to talk about it because I know that 2 days from now, 3 days from now, there's going to be parts of it start to make sense to me. I will say overall, though, I get the sense of maybe the storyteller has become lost in the whole process of being a storyteller.
Yeah, I would say that this is a very self-indulgent movie for Aronofsky. I think that it's a little style over substance. Now, there is some biblical allegories in this movie, specifically Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel. You kind of get that with these visitors who visit Jennifer Lawrence and her husband, Javier Bardem. And Javier Bardem plays this poet, and he's kind of going through writer's block. And just these people coming into their lives give him inspiration to break through it and write this masterpiece. And I think that's where the movie just kind of goes off the rails for me personally.
It's a way of talking about the artist as a person who's sort of pulling the life out of every person who has a close relationship with them and turning that into their body of work. And then when that body of work is recognized, then, leaving all of the people that you loved. I almost got the sense that this is that point in a director or storyteller's lives when they have achieved some level of success and then they start asking themselves these questions about, has it all been worth it? Has the sacrifices I've made in my personal life been worth the successes that I've had in my public life? I just don't ever know if that turns out well. Outside of the 8.5, which I, huge fan of that, and you're kind of dealing with that whole writer's block and, same kind of things happening there. But man, it's pretty far down the rabbit hole. It's pretty far down into Aronofsky's little world.
I'll say this, as far as the visual style of this movie, I mean, once again, Darren Aronofsky is teaming up with Matthew Libatique, his usual cinematographer. And I hope you like Jennifer Lawrence, because I'll say about 75% of this movie is Jennifer Lawrence from the shoulders up. There's so much, and I get it, she's the focus of the story. You really go through it with her, but there's just, sometimes where it's just, they're just following Jennifer Lawrence around this house and everything else is happening around her.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, because it's not just that he's choosing to do that, it's that throughout the film, it's both her and Javier Bardem are at these uncomfortable focal lengths. They are taking up so much of your screen. I kept sort of watching this film like this, give me a little bit of room to breathe here.
Yeah.
It's a claustrophobic watch. And I also noticed, I'm sure you did as well, that there are some periods of time where you will have a take that is 20 seconds of a framing like this on her face walking through the house, and there's nothing audio happening at all. I mean, everyone in the theater is trying as hard as they can to be quiet, and you're just hearing every little movement, and I'm sure that's part of what he's trying to create in this environment, that claustrophobia of the process of being in the creation phase.
I think this will be a very divisive movie. It is a very artful movie. This movie is really visceral, and it's a good study of filmmaking. And I think that this is one of those movies where the best thing that's going to come out of it is discussions between people who have seen it. I think that this movie will be talked about for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if you heard, I overheard probably 3 or 4 different conversations on our way out.
Yeah, I heard a few people over talking.
And each of those conversations, there was at least one person in that who knew what had happened and was telling everyone else. And none of the different ones were the same. You know, everyone's kind of going to draw something different from this.
This movie left me with a lot of questions. Questions about the house. There's this sense that the house is alive, that it has a heartbeat, and that it has a wound at one point. And like, there's just all these crazy things going on. These people invade this house, and they do these completely crass and overbearing things. And that's just those are parts of the movie where I'm sitting there just like, what's happening? And maybe that's the feeling I'm supposed to get. Maybe I'm supposed to be sitting there wondering what the hell's happening. And if so, you achieved it, Darren Aronofsky. But I would have liked some answers, some closure. Maybe I'm too lowbrow. Maybe the movie's too highbrow. I don't know. Just some kind of explanation.
Because before we had gotten to the end and it really got into this is, you know, the artist's struggle part of it, I was definitely seeing her as being intimately connected with that house in some way. And partially to do with the title of the film as well. I was sort of seeing it as the process that a mother goes through of creating something and having it torn away from you and eventually losing it with raising children.
Right.
And then I thought that's where we were headed, and then it really didn't go there. But I don't know if that subtext is there, and if I think about it more over the next week, there's going to be this connection I make with the house that all sort of makes it make sense. But I do get that feeling that there's a lot about the house that was told to us that maybe ended up on the cutting room floor.
Let's talk about the performances. Which, I mean, we had a lot of really good actors in this one. Jennifer Lawrence, Javier Bardem. There's also Ed Harris, Michelle Pfeiffer, Donald Gleason shows up at one point too. Who really stood out to you? I mean, this movie, like I said, it's mostly Jennifer Lawrence, but aside from her.
Well, I think for the limited screen time that Javier Bardem has, he is a very memorable character in this. I mean, I guess you say he's in it a lot, but he kind of comes in and out in strange ways. You really do spend a lot of time with Jennifer Lawrence. I think she carries it. I think that I felt real emotion. But performance-wise, I mean, Ed Harris is always going to be somebody that you don't want to be the other person in the shot with. But outside of that, it sounds like I'm struggling to talk about this because there's just so much to sort of try and put together. So I guess maybe the answer to that is there isn't any performance that's really sticking out to me. I'm gonna have to think about it more.
The one that stuck out to me would be Michelle Pfeiffer as Ed Harris's wife. She was very cold, and she was also just very invasive, and she's just this woman who comes out of the blue. I mean, first of all, Ed Harris's character, he comes into this house out of nowhere, and then even least expected is Michelle Pfeiffer's character, and she's asking all these deep personal questions to Jennifer Lawrence, and really, you know, trying to dig down into the core of her. And I thought that she was almost like it kind of built up to her being a villain, but she wasn't. I mean,
I thought we
left
were
as
going,
soon as she came.
Yeah, I thought we were going the neighbors in Rosemary's Baby. I thought that's what was happening.
Yeah.
And that we were all going to try and get her pregnant for some cult ritual. And that, you know...
and I did get a lot of Rosemary's Baby with this movie as well. And also, it's kind of Wicker Man-esque, even.
Yeah. There's just a lot happening, and it's going to take me a little while to understand if there's a hole that's happening.
Yeah. Buffs. All right, Aaron, sounds like we once again had mixed feelings about a Darren Aronofsky movie, but why don't you go ahead and put your judgment on it and give it a final score?
I guess if I have to come up with a number on this, I'm going to go for a 7.5. It's visually interesting. It's going to give you an Aronofsky fix. I can't sit here and say there is a compelling reason that you need to pay money to go to a movie theater and watch it. Definitely, it would almost seem better to watch this on a smaller screen. But that, if you're a huge Aronofsky fan, definitely go see it. You're going to get exactly what you're looking for. Outside of that, maybe wait.
Yeah. This one, I can't give it that high of a score. This movie was equally frustrating and intriguing. And once again, maybe on a second view, maybe after I talked to, more people have seen it who had different reactions, different interpretations of it, I might change my opinion of it. But once again, this is a first reaction. I really think it is a movie you have to sit and think about. But I can't give it too high of a score because just so many parts of this movie I felt like falling asleep, felt like walking out, and just felt like turning around and yelling at everybody in the theater, what the hell is going on? So I'm going to give Mother a 5 out of 10.
Buffs.
Alright, so that's it for our review of Mother. What'd you guys think? I mean, what did you get from the movie? I'd love to see a conversation started about this in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate all the support at Cinema Buffs. Want to thank Aaron again for joining me, and be sure to join us next week when we review the new Kingsman 2, The Golden Circle. I'm really looking forward to this one. Nate and I both love the first one, so we can't wait to bring you the review for the next.